Anna Gates. I'm a senior in mechanical engineering technology.
My name is Lisa Blumenthal, and I'm a senior in mechanical engineering. So we're currently standing in the Palaestra. The Palaestra was a part of the sanctuary in ancient Olympia and served as the training facility for wrestling and boxing athletes. The structure was built in roughly the 3rd century BC during the Hellenistic period, which, as we learned yesterday, is the period between the time of Alexander the Great's death in 323 BC and then to the emergence of the Roman Empire in 31 BC. The Palaestra is located west of the Temple of Zeus and is connected to the gymnasium on its north side. So over that way. That way is north. It's connected to the gymnasium on the north side. It is oriented precisely to the cardinal points. So north, south, west, and east. The structure is 66 meters by 66 meters itself, and then it's centered around a 41 meter by 41 meter courtyard, which we're standing in right now. The courtyard was filled with sand and open to the sky, exposing it to the elements, so it could rain, and the sun would be down on this area right here. All 4 sides of the court are surrounded by porticos or covered colonnades. These covered colonnades were made of Doric columns and were walkways where people could stand and walk while they protected from the elements and the sun. Various rooms surrounded the sand courtyard and the covered colonnades. Each room is believed to have a different function. There are rooms on the other side of the columns. The entrance is on the south side, we believe. Some sources say it's on the south side. Others say there are entrances around the different buildings. And then the outside of the walls were made of, the lower portions were made of stone. You can kind of see some of those remain, and the upper portion was made of brick. There are palaestras throughout ancient Greece. Anywhere there were games, there were palaestras. This one was believed to have a unique feature. In the north corner, there was a 24 meter by 5.5 meter strip of cement pavement, and it's believed to be a bowling alley of some sort. A similar feature was found in Pompeii with heavy stone balls on it.
I did not know that.
So the rooms along the outside of this courtyard have some different, people aren't really sure what they're used for, and some different uses. We do know that the north side is a sort of a club room, probably used for the athletes. And we do know that the northeast corner up there, which we walked past, is the bathroom. There was a bath 1.5 meters deep, and it was used for cold baths for the athletes. There were other rooms around the outside that had benches on them, and again, scholars sort of disagree what those were used for. We read somewhere, somebody said that would never be used for teaching or lectures, it would only be used for the athletes. Other people say that this would be where different lecturers would come and give teachings and lectures and things like that. So we're not quite sure, but probably used for lecturers, and people could sit on those benches. There are also some information that there might be some more intimate activities that might have gone on in some of the rooms around the Palaestra. We're not really sure about that though. There are also storage rooms for oil and the equipment that would be used and things like that. This courtyard that we're standing in would be covered in sand, and that would be used for the different sports that were practiced here: wrestling, boxing, and pankration. A little bit about those sports. Wrestling is pretty much what we're used to today. A point would be scored if your opponent's back, hip, or shoulder touched the ground, or if they conceded defeat because they were in some sort of hold or they were incapacitated in some way, or if they were forced out of the boxing or the wrestling area. That would be a point as well. And you needed 3 points to win in wrestling. Wrestling was added to the Olympic Games in 708 BC. As far as boxing goes, the best thing about boxing is that there were no rules like there are today. There were no rules at all. There was no ring that you had to stay inside of. There were no weight classes. So your opponent was simply drawn by lots, so you never knew who you were going to be fighting against. And it was just pretty much no rules. You won when your opponent conceded or they were incapacitated. Boxing was added to the Olympic Games in 688 BC. The last sport, pankration, is sort of a mix of the two. So it's like boxing or wrestling, but your opponent there's no points scored. The only way that you could win in pankration was if your opponent conceded defeat. Kicking and hitting was allowed, but not biting and gouging. Pankration was sort of considered the greatest test of an athlete's strength or skill, and you really had to force that concession from your opponent. The Palaestra was an important training facility for the Olympic Games, and it really provided a good, fair training space for all of the athletes.